gonna have to watch Clem Dark TVZ. So, in the bottom right, our red Terran player. This is going to be Team Liquid's. And the top left, our blue Zerg is going to be Dark. In one of our best of 3 series. As we see, this time obviously things getting going. So the fix in the end for Clem, unfortunately, was that he's just going to have to play West every game, which is a little bit unfortunate. As obviously a little bit of preference to Dark there on the servers. But that's just unfortunately how it's going to be. Central server is apparently a little bit messed up at the moment. So not much we can really do about that other than just play on Dark and go from there. Play on Dark, play on West and go from there. It's a little bit of an advantage Dark, as Clem is going to open with double Rax out down on the low ground of Grezvon. So going to get both those barracks started up already. And, ooh, a third barracks. Cheeky in the main as well. So Clem going to go quite aggressive. And even on the server where he will not be able to micro as cleanly because his ping will be a little bit worse, he is still going to opt for the triple Rax Reaper, which is obviously extremely micro-intensive and generally needs to get some good damage done. Otherwise, it's way too much of an investment to kind of, set up otherwise. As our second and third barracks will still continue through. Our first Reaper is a few moments away from getting finished up, so at this first Reaper, currently about halfway through. Second Reaper starts. There's an Overlord coming to check in at the front here as well, see what's happening. As again, the couple of Reapers will be finishing, and the first one will go. Obviously, this Overlord would kind of like to go and turn towards the main base, because actually seeing that this is 3 racks instead of 2 racks would be some pretty good information. That's the kind of info you could really utilize. We'll see if Dark is going to end up scouting that at all. For now, the Overlord just heads through the natural and up towards the top. So yeah, I don't think he's going to get that info yet. He will see no expansion, however, for a little bit. So the lack of timing on the expansion is perhaps enough to tell you about what's going on. As the feelings come over, Reaper gets chased away. 3 more Reapers continue through. Well, Queen's coming out. I'm just going to be seeing the Reapers continue to gather out the front as everything rallies across. Ling's Queen on the way. You can see the first Reaper's going to start going after this hatchery. A couple of grenades go down. Our hatch taking a lot of damage. Another round of grenades is going to be seeing the hatchery still taking shots. Our Reapers will continue through. Hatchery will be getting lower and lower. As another grenade comes down, one more Reaper comes across as well. Just going to bring that through. Get this straight onto the hatchery. We start to nibble our way through this. More grenades. Hatchery is going to take a few more shots. It's going to be the cancel. When it's 3 Rax Reaper and you build more than just the first 2 Reapers, you're pretty much always going to have this happen where you can cancel the third base. With 2 Rax Reaper, it's less likely and much more difficult, especially if you only build 3 Reapers. With 3 Rax, you generally can stop the third hatchery from being online, and that's one of the advantages you take away from this typically. As this Reaper hops up around to the high ground again. Now the Reapers look as though they're going to try and go towards the main, where they're going to be met by a whole bunch of Zerglings. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's not quite it for Clem. That was a little unlucky the way the Reapers moved then, how the Lings were able to get a catch. So like that doesn't usually happen. A grenade does not quite go where it needs to pop the Queen further towards the Reapers. Reapers are going to get in for the mineral line though. 2, 3 drones, and you've got an escape path in the bottom side here. You lose one more Reaper, but we get a few drones out of it this time, maybe a bit more justifiable. Clem, about 5 SCVs behind Economy of Dark, who is still going to have to start with 3rd hatch at some point, but is otherwise at least maintaining a good strong work count across the 2 bases he currently has set up. There's the 3rd hatchery starting as Clem, playing against Link Speed at this point, is going to back away with these Reapers. He does, of course, have 3 racks of Marine production now, so his Marine count will get very high very quickly. And that's going to be one of the next challenges for Dark, figuring out how you're going to be able to defend against this Marine-based follow-up. It's actually going to come across and you're going to try and get an Overlord, and obviously a few Marines on the low ground as well, so this Overlord shouldn't take too long to die. It's a nice catch, actually. Supply blocks Dark at a pretty nasty moment. He didn't have an Overlord started, so bit of an extended supply block for our Zerg. Reapers continue towards the upper left, going to hop up to the high ground and just going to aim maybe for a little bit of creep spread or so. Honestly, some creep teammates now would not be a bad thing. Slow Dark down a little bit further. Obviously, with the Reaper-based opening, you've already slowed down the creep a fair amount. Being able to, double down on that denied creep spread would just be a nice little extra, but not going to happen quite yet as Stimpak continues through. ML upgrades continue through, and we actually have a group of Marines showing up right now. They're going to come forward and join with the Reapers. See what can be done. Hatchery finishes. Banal Nest on the way, a whole bunch of Zerglings on the way. Now Reapers, our Marines going to start pushing forward. First Queen's going to be taking some shots. The Marines come stimming up behind. Now the Hatchery will begin to take a few shots as well. Grenade goes down. Queens get bopped backwards. The Lings wanting to get across, but will not be able to. The Queen's going to sit there, and again the Marine Reaper backs away up the right-hand side over to the top for the moment. Is very eager to get the siege tank up and into position as well. Situation 48 to 44 army supply, pretty good for Clem, playing against, no Baneling speed, no upgrades or anything. Like, this is really just a baseline Zerg army. Yeah, you're gonna have some Banelings, but they're not gonna have a lot of the additions that usually make them be okay. The Lings have to pull away from the drop defense and now go just for the front kind of push defense instead. Knock down a couple of these Crypt Tumors. There's Hatchery in trouble. A lot of Queen's Mind and transfusions available, so the Hatchery shouldn't go straight down. As now Clem's going to take the chance to dive up into the main. He's still got a fair few units on the low ground, Reapers and Marines included, as he's just going to try and force a couple of fights. Doesn't have combat shield still though, and so doesn't want to get too involved. Especially as Lings look to maybe get a surround. You don't want to let that get too crazy either, right? As looks as though the tank will continue to fend off the Queens. And back at home, Clem does have reinforcements, including a second siege tank. Ideally at this point, I feel like he doesn't take a straight-up fight without that second siege tank being here. Dark does now have 1-1 upgrades, and no upgrades on the way from Clem, so Dark getting into a bit of a favorable position when it comes to this Ling Bane and how he might be able to trade. 1-1 against 0-0, and already starting +2 upgrades as well, so going to extend the upgrade leads in this game by a fair amount, as Ling's going to go wrapping around the right-hand side here, looking to jump onto this army of Clem. With the big flank, let's see how it goes, especially with the upgrades. I think this could go very well if the tanks can get onto the Banelings. Yeah, it didn't happen in time. The problem was Clem really needed to kind of target the Banes with the tanks so that he could then focus with the Marines on the Zerglings. He's going to try and capitalize by jumping into the main base, where he's going to find a ton of drones. So that hop into the main base, not just the drones, the lair as well is likely going to go down. He kills a Baneling here, he's going to kite up to the top. He's killing a lot more Zerglings. The value for Clem, he doesn't get the lair, but everything else that went down instead was not cheap. He lost out in a big way there as these Marines escaped through the top side in the medevacs. They're going to move over here. They are going to unload behind the mineral line. Rest of these Lings moving around. A couple more Banes morphing in. Our Marines will sit on the bottom, and the Lings are going to run straight across. Our Marines will have to load up into medevacs once again just to stay out of trouble. Still trying to figure out just what we can do as Zerglings come across. Our Marine's going to go diving one way and another. And more Zerglings still going down as Clem is doing a very good job of being very active. I mean, it's kind of funny because it feels like the kind of trades and the kind of setups and the kind of ways to deal damage, which shouldn't really lead you to that great of a situation, right? As the Marines continue to go up and down, let's continue to create some action in general for the moment. Marines and medevacs going to continue around the south. A few Lings are going to back it up, and we do have 1-1 upgrades just past the halfway marker. Liberator is coming out as well as an army of Clem goes diving through the center to find a few Creep Tumors already. Lings going down. Massive counterattack is going to find all the SCVs on the third base. Clem, how well can you deal with this? Still doesn't have upgrades, by the way, so the fact that Dark is on 2-1 is kind of nasty, as Clem's going to lose everything. So it's really going to come down to, can he do enough across the map? And initially, I mean, he's got the army supply, but without the upgrades as well, I just don't feel like it's going to be enough. Dark getting a good amount done on that other side. Going to see our Marines still pushing through, going to go after those drones. And Valen's continue to take a lot of damage. The Lings continue to drop. The Liberators will continue to siege, and just going to be seeing the rest of these Zerglings coming across still to try and just deal a little bit more damage across the board here. Medevac's going to load up. The Marines once again. Liberators still firing. Queens will be shooting. Just going to see our Medevac escaping away down the bottom side as our Lings wrap around for a few more Marines, and just going to be seeing Marines doing what they can, but not enough. GG's. Dark is going to take game number 1 of this best of 3. Survived and survived. And let's kick off into game number 2. Sorry, I was just sorting something on the other game quickly. As in the bottom left, our blue Zerg is going to be Dark. On the top right, our red Terran from Team Liquid. We've got ourselves Clem. Game number 2 of our best of 3 series. See where this one takes us. Clem is already on that low ground depot. I wouldn't expect 3 Rax Reaper a second time. I wouldn't say I put Clem in a bad position. I feel like I put him in a good spot, but 3 Rax Reapering twice in a row is usually not seen. Usually you just go 3 Rax Reaper once, and then probably back to like the 3 Reaper opening, which has been the absolute just way to play as of late. Barracks goes down, and another SCV comes to the low ground as well to get a second barracks set up here as well. So just getting all of this up and rolling. Getting that underway. So 2 barracks already coming out. It's going to be seeing our hatch, our gas producing as well here. So just again getting a little bit of everything up and rolling for the first few moments. Nothing surprising from Dark. It was not a pull first or anything defensively or safely. Cowardly. He will take on whatever Clem throws his way with the hatchery first. Don't really need a pull first to deal with the Reapers, because you have slightly faster link speed or so, sure, but it's not too terrifying most of the time. We're finally going to confirm the double Rax, and hey, I was wrong. It is going to be that 3rd Rax once again, so Clem is going to be happy enough with how it went in the first game, and seems to feel as though he can set himself up into a similar position again. The one thing that didn't go well for Clem is he did lose a couple of Reapers pretty quickly, right? So that would be one thing for him to perhaps watch out for as our Reaper heads all the way down to the natural expansion. And just going to start poking around. A couple Lings start take some shots. And the first Ling going to go down. Our Lings come through. The Reaper going to take a few hits as well. Extra Reapers coming out. Queen's on the way. Rotoron on the way. Dark is just going to go straight into a very different defense here. Doesn't have a 3rd hatch for Clem to cancel. And yeah, once it gets to Roaches, will be a much sturdier defense against those Reapers. But at the lack of, mobility, at the lack of, it being as standard of a setup, and the Reapers get caught by the Lings! Trying to get out, they just couldn't quite make it. The surround from Dark, taking 2 of the first Reapers out, is absolutely huge. Goodbye momentum, Clem. And just, hello disaster, quite frankly. This is really not going to be pretty in the slightest, honestly. You've just lost 2 Reapers. Now you've only got 2 Reapers on the map, and you are going to be playing against someone that can make a whole bunch of Roaches once they finish these Overlords. I don't think Dark would kind of steer away from building Roaches here. I think he's at the very least going to try to poke across the map and see if there's something he can do, because at the very least, it would be nice to force Clem to build some additional defenses and so on. So, yeah, you're going to just take advantage of the opportunity that's presented to you on this silver platter. You're going to take that, you're going to roll with it. There's just no doubt about that one as our Reapers escape up the right-hand side. Marines still coming out. Stim's about halfway done. A few more Roaches are coming out on the side of Dark as well. So just bringing all of these up and running as through the middle of the map we go. Roaches and Zerglings continue to push to the upper right-hand side. So away we go. Army getting ready to attack in toward the natural expansion. Stim back. It's going to start taking some damage. We can repair the Stim, but I just don't know if we got the Marines to stand and fight against a group of roaches. We don't have any Marauders here, so we don't have anything that's a bit tankier or even just better damage output. Feels like by the time Stim is done, Clem's going to have lost too many Marines to really have, Stim be all that meaningful. His supply is already down in the gutter, unfortunately. Just seems that this is not going to work out too well for Clem. He will Stim forward, he will fight, but it's going to come at a pretty major cost. There's so many roaches here. A few Lings getting into the front, and Dark just drones behind this already on a double work account compared to his opponents. It really does look as though Dark is going to have this best of 3 pretty comfortably. There's a couple more Ravagers morph in. Another Corrosive Bile coming down. It's going to be GG's, and Dark is going to take it 2-0 over Clem. And is going to be able to move through